Hi guys, Tugger here with a new video. In this video, I want to talk about solo shuffle, and I know I'm not going to be listened by Blizzard, but if people that have a better reach than me watch this video and think that my propositions are good for solo shuffle, then I would like to actually propose those changes, and hopefully someone hears it or someone shares my opinion or shares my ideas towards the community or whatever. So if you are on Reddit or on Facebook or on WoW forums, please share the ideas or my video. I don't care, to be honest, it doesn't matter. I just want Solo Shuffle to be in a better place. So basically, I want to share a few tips or a few ways on how we could improve the queue times on Solo Shuffle. And you would think, look, what we should do is buff healers. We should buff healers and we will be all good. But the problem is, solo shuffle is not a individual mode where you can just do balancing changes on only that mode. Some healers are just better in threes or in twos than in solo shuffle. And if you're buffing with the idea of improving the solo shuffle experience while you forget about threes and twos, then we have a problem. Let me give you an example. Of course, you have preservation evokers, Mistweaver monks, and Resto Druid actually doing pretty fine in solo shuffle. Still, sometimes the experience can be miserable because your teammates are not listening or they are toxic, but the healing is not a problem for those classes. It can be a problem with dampening, kicking like super fast and like very scaly, I would say. But like a holy priest, everyone would say like, let's buff a holy priest, or let's buff this priest, or let's buff resto druid, resto shaman. While, for example, in trees, it's a bit better. Like disc priest is actually well represented in trees. It's not the best class. It does have weaknesses, and it will be changed. But it is not as bad as, let's say, solo shuffle healing. And the reason for that is dampening. The dampening starts at 30% and scales super hard. At one point, your heals will do nothing, and basically your kit will be there to save the day. So, for example, Preservation Evoker has multiple tools. You would say like throughput healing is the most important thing for Preservation Evoker, but it's not really the case. The kits, the design, the CDs, the CC, and the damage are actually all the things that actually makes Preservation Evokers that much stronger. If it was only throughput healing, Mistweaver monks are one of the best throughput healers, and they are not better than evokers in my books at least. So what I would suggest, and that's my first suggestion, is to actually nerf or buff, it doesn't like, it depends on how you see it, the dampening from solo shuffle. So instead of starting at 30%, why not start at 20%, or why not start at 15%? The games might be longer, but I don't think people want fast games. I think people want actually fast queues and an experience in solo shuffle that is pretty close to 3v3, or at least a fighting chance. Some healers don't have a fighting chance at some point in the game because you already blew all the CDs in the first minute of the game because the damage is very spiky, because the healing is like very little. Like Radiance doesn't heal for much, Atonement healing doesn't heal for much in solo shuffle. The same for Penance, and etc, etc. I would also talk about Resto Shamans basically having totems that heals pretty good, but with the dampening plus also the breakable aspect of those totems makes it very hard for them to actually have throughput healing, while in threes or in twos they might have a better experience, for example. So that's why I would suggest to first and foremost nerf or buff, I don't know how you can see it, the dampening. So please put from 30% to 20%, test it out. If it feels better, then we can keep it. If it doesn't feel better, put it at 15%, put it at 10% like in trees, and make it scale much more faster than in trees. Then you have like more scaling, and yeah, sometimes it can feel a bit spiky around 3 minutes or 4 minutes, but at least you have a fighting chance from the first or second minute in the game, because a lot of healers have difficulties from the first minute, and this priest, to just compete with other healers, has to blow their mana super fast, and that's the first problem. Now the second problem is, look, maybe it's not about the healing aspect. They don't really want to play versus I would say DPSs that are a bit too aggressive because they are sat 30 minutes in the queue, and if they sat 30 minutes in the queue and the healer is not really performing as they would like, well, the problem is they will be more toxic because they sat 30 minutes queue, or sometimes they sit for 1 hour, or sometimes they sit for 15 minutes, or sometimes someone leaves and then you have a queue in 50 minutes and then someone left again, and then you won 0 points because you had three rounds won, and the accumulation of the toxicity just will lash out on the healer. And I'm not justifying this aspect. When I'm lashing out, I'm not lashing out in written form. I'm actually lashing out like speaking wise. I can curse, but I'm not going to say that to the healer. I will curse probably. I will say that it's his fault, but I'm not going to write it. I'm not going to let him know that it's his fault. I will just express it for myself because I'm a very expressive guy. But to counter that fact, I would suggest to reduce the queues. And now you're going to say, oh, thank you, Captain Obvious. You just have to reduce the queues. Well, I'm going to tell you how you can reduce the queues. If you give incentive to DPSs to actually queue healer to then have a guaranteed DPS queue the next game. A guaranteed DPS queue that will speed up the process, get you first in line, for example, towards the next games. Other games has that, like League of Legends. Whenever you are queuing as a support, your next game you will be for sure the ADC, for example, the mid lane or the top lane. Now, World of Warcraft is not quite the same because some classes don't have a healing spec, but I would say that they could make an account-wide thing where if you're queuing with as a healer, the next game will be a much faster queue, and a lot of DPSs will agree to actually play healer. Well, that aspect will also help DPSs to find games because there will be a lot more healers in the healer pool, which makes it a lot easier to actually farm the MMR, the CR that you would like. And you also think like there will be noobs and such, but that's not a problem. That's why it is an MMR system. The noobs or the bad healers will stay with themselves, and they will be better over time because people will probably like to heal at one point. They will probably get some feeling towards the healing aspect. Maybe they want the fast queues and they will keep on queuing as healer. But if you don't give the opportunity or the incentive to DPSs to actually switch out to healer, that is going to be very difficult. So the incentive to actually put a DPS into a healer spot is to actually give them an incentive to get a better queue or a faster queue as a DPS. And I'm not saying a faster queue to get 8,000 CR disparity. I would say like a competitive MMR setting where DPS will have a fighting chance to actually win CR, but also lose CR if they are performing not as intended. So that would be my second suggestion. My third suggestion would be buffs to healers, I guess, if everything doesn't work. Of course, whenever you are going to buff a healer, you're going to obviously also buff him in 2s and in 3s, and it becomes very difficult because even in 3s, some games are like quite long because you have coordination, you can save your mates, and sometimes it can be a very dampening game, although dampening still scales very hard, so a lot of healers will have difficulties, but that's the main problem. And what you can compensate with is probably a mana buff towards healers. But mana being relevant is actually good. I think it's better to have healers going than healers being manaless, like for example Mistweaver monks or preservation evokers, or I would even say sometimes resto druids. So if you could maybe nerf the mana regen from the top end of the ladder and try to buff the mana from the lower end of the ladder perspective of the tiers, like for example Disc Priest, or I see not sometimes, it's often holy paladins will get very quickly, because if they want to do throughput, they will have to expend some mana or take risks and play Avenging Crusader. But basically, how you can improve the queues is giving incentives. And of course, the fourth suggestion would be, like a lot of people already suggested it, give gold for playing healer. Win or lose, really. But I would say for winning, you get a lot more gold, and for losing you will get a lot less gold, and basically you're paying your own subscription by just playing healer. But it's a fourth suggestion. I don't really like those aspects of farming to get some kind of subscription, because it just incentivizes botting. It does incentivize like je m'en foutisme van about, like, for example, just I don't care about this game and that's it. It's like, if I lose, I don't care. I got gold. I'm just a PvEer. I'm just going to queue and get my easy gold here and there, easy games. Even if I have 0 wins, I will get some gold, and that's it. And that, I don't really like it. That's why it's my fourth suggestion. People prefer to suggest it as first, but it's an easy way out. I don't think it will help the quality of the games. I don't think it will help healers to actually learn healing, and the DPSs to be less toxic, because the toxicity always comes from somewhere. It comes from competitivity, because whenever you are too competitive, I'm also very competitive, you become a bit annoyed of losing, and whenever you lose games that you would think you would win, you become very annoyed, and it becomes even more annoying whenever you are waiting 30 minutes in a queue. Like the other day on my warrior, I had to wait 45 minutes for just someone to leave the game, and that's very annoying. Of course, they are going to change that in the few patches, next patches. I hope this Wednesday, but it could be the Wednesday after, or Tuesday if you are an American. But really, we need to change the actual solo shuffle mentality, and by doing that is giving incentivization, but also change the core aspects of solo shuffle. I like solo shuffle. I like that it is very dampening, but the healers cannot keep up, except the healers that are actually very good, like preservation evokers, resto druids, mistweaver monks, to a certain extent holy priest and holy paladin. But even they are having difficulties to compete. And you can say nerf preservation evokers and it will be better. I would say it will not be better, because it doesn't have to do with the power levels of the healers, because basically it is just the dampening aspect that makes it very hard for healers to actually heal. In 3s and in 2s, the landscape of tiers are very different. I would say Disc Priest is not as bad in 2s, and they are actually very good. They are actually competitive. And in 3s, I would say, okay, some comps is very difficult, but you as a Disc Priest can choose the comp you want to play. I would say jungle is still one of the best comps you can play as a Disc Priest. So those are my suggestions. Of course, if you have any other suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. If you want to share it to as many people as you can, to as many forums as you can, to Reddit, whatever. I don't care if you post my link. I don't care if you post my name. Just post those suggestions, spam it everywhere. I don't care if you're going to use my channel or my video to boost it, because this video has a purpose to actually try to get solo shuffle in a better state. I know that my reach is not very high. I know that I'm very lucky to even have 5k views on my videos, but if I can help solo shuffle to be better, I would like to do that. So that's why I made this video. So thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you love PvP content, PvP discussion, PvP guides, PvP tips and tricks, gameplay from BGs, from arenas, RBGs, whatever. And I will see you next time for a new video. Have a great day. Bye.
Never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until